Hi, welcome to another pop-up Eureka. Today we're going to be making this Seneca bust. This nice little Seneca based on the twister mechanism. And sorry about this little line I drew on, I was measuring something. But the quote here is, "Anger, if not restrained, is frequently more hurtful to us than the injury that provokes it." So that's kind of today's little pop-up we're going to be making. I've left it black and white. I normally colour these things in, but I thought this actually looks nicer in black and white. I did do a colour version, but this version I felt looks more like the kind of bust you'd see in a museum or something like that. So I thought we'd just leave it black and white today. Don't worry about this bit popping out. I needed to make the card bigger. Print out the templates in the description below. Everything's been remeasured, so everything is going to fit perfectly, and we're going to be making this. So link in the description, print this stuff out and just cut out these pieces. So we're going to start with the base card. Let's move everything to one side. Make sure that your base card is positioned so that this little grey bit, this little gluey bit, is kind of closer to the bottom, so you're not holding it this way round. It's just kind of off center, so it should be nearer the bottom of the card. So if you imagine this is the center, it should be just underneath the central line, and this is where we want this orientated. And we're going to stick this bit on. This is the main part of our mechanism. So again, as I've mentioned before, the dashed lines, we want everything folded down into a mounting fold. The dotted lines, we want them folded up on that side, and even these little bits need to be folded up so that you can make this kind of shape. Oops, just jumped out of my hand. So you can make this kind of shape out of it. If you folded it correctly, you should be able to just press those bits in, the two side bits, and we should have something like that. So this is going to be something that folds flat but also opens up, and these little tabs here are going to push off this part of the, let me just grab hold of that, they're going to push open this part of the mechanism. Okay, so it will all make sense. I promise it will all begin to make sense as we go through this. So we're going to get our glue and we're going to apply the glue. You can either apply it onto the page, but it actually might be easier just to apply it onto the sides of this shape here. So once you fold this correctly, you can push these two sides in, and we're going to have these two bits exposed, and we can just get a little bit of glue, and I'm just going to dab that on. And again, you don't have to use fancy glue, you don't have to use this spatula, you can just use any glue that sticks paper together. I just use this because I'm used to it now. It takes a bit longer to do it this way, and it's a bit more pedantic, but this is kind of how I make the models that I do. So we're just going to add that on. Nice. If this goes either way, it doesn't really matter. I'm just going to place this now, the glue bit, into that grey area there, and we're just going to slide it in so that it fits. And then we're going to fold the page. Oops, and just let the other side find its place. And when we open it up, we begin to see the workings of our mechanism. We've got this nice little cutout bit in the middle. Okay, so we can see we've already begun the main part of our mechanism. So there we are. Now we're going to fold this down, or up rather, fold this up so that these bits are facing this way. And we want them kind of here because we're going to place this piece on next. Now remember, on the template, or rather on the artwork, I didn't draw the line on this bit. I drew it on either side to indicate that once this bit is cut out, we want to have the mounting fold already in place. This grey area here, we're going to glue over, and we're going to be sticking Seneca's name tag scroll thing onto it, but we're going to do that later. First we want to put this into place. Now if you look carefully, there's two little grey bits, a little grey indicator here and a little one here. The reason I've done that is because we're going to glue underneath that piece. So those little grey areas, even though they're glue tabs, rather than gluing on them, we're going to be gluing underneath them this time. You could even apply it to the tab here if it makes it easier. A bit of glue onto that tab and a bit of glue behind. Whoops. So putting the glue behind this tab. Okay, and then we're going to stick this onto here, and it should fit quite snugly onto it. Oops. There we go. It's always good to have a little bit of tissue or something just to wipe the glue off your fingers as you're going through this. Okay, excellent. And then we're going to take just a bit more glue and we're going to stick it onto this tab here. And I'm even going to put a little bit behind it, just here, so that we should be able to just press this down, and this should also hold into place. And the reason I like this kind of sort of super glue is it holds things very firmly in place. Have to be very careful that we're not accidentally sticking other bits of the mechanism down. I'm just going to gently make sure that when we fold the card, this piece should twist flat. Okay, so we're just going to do this gently and make sure, and just kind of guide it a little bit. It's looking okay, and then just shut that. And so when we open it, it kind of unfolds. So we've got this nice twister mechanism, one of the most interesting mechanisms I find. It's quite simple but very effective. So we can fold, just let the pieces find their way of working. Just going to let that stick a bit. Look, so when we open and close it, we have this nice mechanism now. You see that? So actually, as you close it, this piece kind of spins flat. So when you open it, it kind of spins outward and then unfolds. And we suddenly have this nice little plane to play with. That's pretty cool, isn't it? Nice, very satisfying mechanism to have. Cool. So while that's going on, in fact, we'll put this to one side, I think. Now this bit is the speech bubble. This is going to fit underneath this bit. So we're just going to be gluing this part. We're going to be sticking it into here. But before we do that, one thing I was going to mention is that we have these different speech bubbles, or rather, we have this one here. So the idea was to use this quote here about anger not being restrained is more hurtful than the injury that provokes it. Because when this is doubly thick, it just makes the card fold a bit easier later on. If you don't want to use this, you could actually just have the speech bubble and write your own message in it. It could just be, hi, happy birthday, John, happy anniversary, Sarah, or whatever message you might want to write into it. But because it's Seneca, I thought we'd use a Seneca quote. So I chose this quote because it was part of another project I was working on, so it was just easier for me. But you could pick another quote, it doesn't have to be this one. So I'm just going to glue this onto here. So this is quite simple. And then when you've got enough, you just place it in place. So this will just fit nicely here. And so you've got a bit of double thickness here. This kind of makes the card just fold a little bit better later on. And there we have it. And then we fold this one again, the mounting fold here. I've done it in a, I don't know if you can see it, but I did it in a kind of slightly different colour grey, it's a slightly darker grey, just so it doesn't show up as much, although it doesn't really matter because most of this is going to be hidden anyway. Right, now we're going to glue onto this bit, just this bottom section here, and then this is going to fit into the just behind. We're going to stick that in like that. Okay, so we're just going to get some glue, nicely glued up, making sure it folds down into this mounting fold, and then we're sticking it just into here, and it should fit very snugly. There we are. And just make sure that's not sticking, and it should fold as well. That's the most important thing. And the important thing is that this speech bubble, because it's double thickness, it folds easier, and it also folds in the opposite direction. So this part folds in kind of anti-clockwise, the speech bubble is folding clockwise. So we've got a nice kind of opposite movement kind of going on. It just adds a bit of interest to the card when you've got one bit sort of spinning one way and then the other bit spins the other way. Just adds a nice little bit of magic to the whole thing. So bloop. Ooh. So I don't know if you can see that very well, but there we go. And that folds nicely. Even though this is quite a big piece, it sort of it kind of comes off the top of the card, which is nice, but when you fold it, it's all tucked away. So there's no clue as to what is inside the card until someone's opened it. So that's a nice little finesse, I guess you could say. Right, next bit is Seneca's head. And his head, or his neck rather, if we look at the width of it, it will fit exactly on top of here, of the actual folding piece. So really, that's where we need to position it. So before we do that, we're going to now apply the glue to this part. So now we glue the remaining grey section of this part of the mechanism. Whoops, I'll just give us a bit more glue. Oh, there's quite a lot there. Try and be a bit more neat. I'm not being very tidy today. For this, I apologise. Whoopsies. And Seneca's head is now, we're going to position it so it's only going to be on one side where we want it glued. We don't want to glue it flat against this because this is a piece, this has to bend. So we're just gluing it on one side and we're positioning his head so that it matches the top of the main mechanism piece. So it's going to be like that. Okay, and just make sure again, all these pieces fold nicely. It's very snug, but there we go. So his head is nicely in place. Now we're just going to add his torso. His torso again, if you cut it out like this as neatly as you can, the two bits here that indicate his neck are going to join up with his head, so you can kind of see that there. So there's a bit of glue that's just blobbed out onto the table, so I'm sort of using that. I'm using some of the mess that I've made off camera in order to actually glue this mechanism. So we're just going to put this on here, all over the grey area. And then when we've got that, just take this piece and we just match it up to the two lines here on his neck. So it just looks like one continuous piece of art. They're folding the way we want them to. Oops. Let's just get this nicely flattened. Right, there we are. So we're getting there. Really only one piece left here, and that's Seneca's little name tag scroll. And again, we're going to use this grey area to guide the piece, so that you see where there's like that little notch. There's kind of that little notch cut out of the artwork there. That matches this part of the artwork. So this gives us a good indication of where we want to place that. So once again, we're just going to apply the glue to to this grey area. Name, this little scroll, and we're just going to place it over there. There's our piece. That's it. So that's Seneca. And that's really all there is to it. So that's a nice little card there. Lots of different bits sort of moving. Oops, not bad at all. So there we have it. Excellent. Quite a lot going on, like it lifts off the page. It kind of goes over the edges of the page. And it's almost like a kind of genuine bust. You know, the fact it's just black and white. Quite simple. And that's our card for today. So if you'd like to follow along to this, the template is available in the description below. You can just print it out. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this. Subscribe for more of these kind of tutorials. So I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you for watching. And remember, anger, if not restrained, is frequently more hurtful to us than the injury that provokes it. Okay, thanks again for watching. See you soon. Bye.